It's July 12th, 2013. And, let's see. Heading to work. So yesterday, I came across this commentator guy named Bob Beckel, a liberal, well, at least a Democratic commentator on the Fox News channel. And I encountered him because I was decided to check out the Young Turks. Okay. So, the Young Turks is kind of a child show of MSNBC to some extent, or a split, or just a co-runner, where their approach is basically the same as MSNBC. Kind of, liberal stuff and making fun of anything that happens on Fox News Channel, which I can agree with for the most part. But on the other hand, I think that you can sometimes get lost with just portraying that everything a person says on Fox News Channel is necessarily bad, just as a matter of course. Although it's true that Roger Ailes' asshole, and whatever that Australian guy's name is, whose name escapes me now. Anyway, so I listened to Bob Beckel a little bit. He had a debate with Pamela Geller, and he essentially jumped down her throat. And then Bob Beckel thinks that we should stop allowing student visas for all Muslims and all Chinese. And I can kind of sympathize with his Muslim deal, in that when you have people like those brothers who those brothers from the near Chechnya who did the Boston Marathon bombing, Tsarnaev brothers. Anyway, when they were living in Russia, they were less radicalized, and then they came over here, and then one of them went back and became more radicalized. And so you have to kind of question, I guess, a little bit at least, maybe not have a ban, but at least try to figure out how to avoid radicalization or detect these people. And that's one reason why I don't really have a big problem with government surveillance. Is I think that government surveillance can, at least in a country that's not like East Germany. Okay, is America like East Germany? I don't think so. Last time I could tell, you can criticize the government without much problem, right? And so, as long as you can criticize the government without much problem, I don't think there's a huge problem with having court-monitored surveillance that tries to detect people who are like the Tsarnaev brothers, okay? That's why I don't have a problem with the NSA monitoring. One moment. Oh, my wife and I watched this video. It was kind of similar video, maybe by the same people, I'm not sure, who made the breast documentary. And then we also watched Chinatown, which was Roman Polanski. They're both pretty good. The video about the documentary about penises was interesting mostly, although I think it was made in the late 90s. And they had some interesting people on there, including a transvestite. And in both documentaries, the breast documentary and the penis documentary, they made a point of including transvestites in there, which I'm not really sure. Well, if it were me making the documentary, I don't think I would have done that. I don't know, just anyway, a little bit strange for me, I guess. But and so that's anyway, that kind of ties into this Bob Beckel thing. Like, yeah, and I don't think that Chinese people should be barred either. Chinese students, you know, and if anything, the more Chinese students that come here, the better, because they go back to China and they will bring back some, you know, freedom-loving American culture. Okay, and maybe the same could be said of the Muslims who come here. I mean, yeah, maybe some will be radicalized, but some will also go home and they'll have some good old-fashioned American values, you know, valuing freedom in their heart a bit more. So I think that Beckel is, you know, a bit too much reactionary on that front, and also jumping down people's throat the way he does. He's basically an old-style New York liberal, okay? Old style. Now, I'm not sure I like the new style either. I mean, can we have something in between? That's why it's hard to be a moderate. You know, as I think about things more, I'm not really an ultra-lefty. I'm definitely not a righty. So I'm somewhere in the middle, I guess, and maybe, anyway. So it's kind of a position where I'm not going to dismiss out of hand what the so-called other side says and just try to shut them up with words like, oh, you're a bigot, and you're a homophobe and an Islamophobe. No, I think that we need to, you know, take a naturalistic approach and examine where people's ideas are coming from, and then try to evaluate whether some parts of what they're saying is correct. You know, what value it might have. So, Islamophobia. Is there good reasons to be afraid of Islam? Yes, there damn well is. And are there reasons to fight against Islam and to speak the truth about Muhammad and, you know, engage and draw Muhammad Day as much as possible? Yes, there is. And is there a good reason not to have the mosque near the 9/11 place? Yes, there is. But on the other hand, you know, I've listened to people who are a bit more secular advocates in places like Egypt. Like I found this video of a 10-year-old kid in Egypt basically advocating for the values of the Enlightenment. You know, who'd have thunk it? A 10-year-old in Egypt advocating for Enlightenment values, huh? Enlightenment values of, you know, freedom, science, democracy, but democracy that doesn't... You have to kind of temper be careful with democracy, full democracy, in a place where people don't have roots in Enlightenment ideals. Okay? Otherwise, they'll just end up choosing the Muslim Brotherhood or Hamas. And then, oh, okay, end of democracy now. Goodbye, democracy. Democracy had a little blip, and then it's gone again. See ya. Okay, so that's Islamophobia. Now, homophobia is a very charged, emotionally charged thing. And I can understand the emotional charged nature of it because I grew up in Mormonism and I was exposed to people like Spencer Kimball and Boyd Packer, and with their anti-masturbation stuff and the book Miracle of Forgiveness. Yeah, I can understand the pain that a homosexual man goes through when he, anyway. But on the other hand, I can understand why people get an icky poo feeling when they see homosexual sex on TV or a movie. Okay? Why does that happen? I don't think we need to just do name calling and say, oh, you're a bigot. We need to ask the question, why? Why does it happen? And I think it happens for natural reasons. Okay? And just because it happens for natural reasons doesn't mean we have to say, oh, let's dismiss it completely. Okay. We can say, okay, it's natural for you to be disgusted at seeing homosexual sex. Just maybe the same way homosexuals are disgusted at seeing heterosexual sex, I guess. And I think the truth lies somewhere in the middle about DNA and homosexuality and socialization and homosexuality. I think you can have gradations, and you can have people who are kind of in the middle and who could go either way, and an argument could be made as to whether children who are sort of in the middle, whether they should be encouraged to engage in just heterosexual relationships or should be more open to homosexual. And the debate could be made about whether children should be encouraged to, discouraged from homosexual activity if they are a middle type child or not. Okay? And in the super charged environment where the left tries to demonize everything the right says, and maybe the right does the same thing to the left, is there a middle ground we can find? So, and I was, thinking that even a little bit more taboo thing to talk about, especially on the left, is a couple things. The right often draws an association between, pedophilia and homosexuality. And the absolute naturalist, scientific, skeptical approach to that would be to simply evaluate that claim and to see how much validity it has and how much it doesn't. Now, I guess my personal opinion is that human sexuality kind of comes in a spectrum. Okay? And this morning I realized, well, if you're going to say that, yes, homosexuality could be natural, but so is pedophilia, you could make the same argument. You could also say, yes, homosexuality is natural, but so is heterosexuality. So we could just say that all of that is natural, okay? And then you can decide, okay, what activities are damaging and what are not? Where do you draw the line between what may very well be natural human sexuality, but where do you draw the line between natural sexuality that's damaging and natural sexuality that's not? Okay? Even if you take the completely naturalist approach, can a conservative be a naturalist? Now, I'm not sure how much of a conservative I am, but I'm just saying I think that's a legitimate question. If you're willing, if you're a person who wants to really, you know, question everything, question all dogmas and all, you know, things that people just don't want to question. The same type of righteous anger about questioning comes from the left. That same type of, oh, don't question my dogma, that sounds almost exactly the same as this deal that says don't question my dogma, that comes from the religious right, you know. So anyway, I'm not saying that I have all the answers on these questions, but what I am saying is that I think we should be open to question, you know, say that, yeah, that's a little legitimate question, and let's try to find out what the answer is. And maybe the answer is not on the ultra-lefty side, okay? Because if you just presuppose that, then you're drawing a conclusion before doing the evaluation. Okay. And I have had exposure to gay culture. I know I'm quite familiar with gay culture because I have a gay nephew who took me to a bunch of gay parties and gay bars. Okay? Even though I'm a straight guy. And I will say that at gay events, you will find a lot of nice people. Okay. A lot of nice people who are generally kind and nice. But the underside, there's also people who are incredibly childish and petty. And I would put my nephew into that camp. Okay. All right. Childish and petty and retributive and just kind of going nowhere, chasing your own tail in life and doing nothing but being a bum. So, and that can happen in you know, the straight world as well. And so being exposed to gay culture has been an interesting experience. And, you know, we have this guy who helps us keep our birds when we go on vacation, and he's a very nice gay man. He has a gay partner, a partner. And I would say, yeah, he'd be a good candidate for, you know, adopting a kid and, you know, living a more responsible, less childish life. Very nice man. But on the other hand, we have the Truman Capote type people, and maybe my Truman Capote mention is kind of a caricature, but from my impression, Truman Capote is the kind of the stereotypical narcissistic, selfish gay person. And there can be straight people who are the same way, like, oh, who can I think of a narcissistic person who I don't really, you know, like to hear his views much. Let's see. Maybe Bill Maher kind of gets that way. So it can happen, as far as I can tell, Bill Maher likes vaginas, but he doesn't want children. Oh no, children bad. So, anyway, here's for people who like children. Straight, or if you're gay, and not a narcissistic Truman Capote type, then and you want to have a marriage and be you know, not just chase your tail all your life, then maybe for you too. Okay, have fun.